My name is Claire. I was 31 years old the day I realized my brother was never going to pay me back. Not next month. Not next year. Not ever. I had known it for a while. Somewhere in the back of my mind, that quiet place where you put the things you don't want to face, I had known. But that Tuesday morning, sitting at my kitchen table with my coffee going cold, looking at his last text message from 4 months ago, I finally let myself know it fully. $15,000. Gone. And my brother hadn't called in 4 months. So I picked up my phone. But not to call him. I called a lawyer. Let me take you back. I grew up in a working-class family in Tennessee. My parents, Gary and Susan, worked hard their whole lives. Dad drove trucks. Mom worked checkout at a grocery store for 22 years. We didn't have much. But we had enough. I have one brother. Marcus. 2 years older than me. Marcus was charming. That was always his thing. The kind of person who walks into a room and immediately makes everyone feel like the most important person there. Big smile. Easy laugh. A story for every situation. People loved Marcus. I loved Marcus. That was the problem. Growing up, Marcus was the golden child. Not because my parents were cruel, they weren't. But Marcus had that charm. That energy. He filled a room in a way I never did. I was quieter. More serious. More focused. I studied hard. I got a scholarship. I went to university and studied finance. I graduated with honors. I got a good job at an investment firm. I built a careful, disciplined, stable life. Marcus bounced. Different jobs. Different cities. Different ideas. He was always on the edge of something big. Always one opportunity away from the breakthrough. He called me every few months. Sometimes just to catch up. Sometimes to borrow money. Small amounts at first. $200 here. $500 there. He always paid those back, not always on time, but eventually. Enough to keep my trust alive. That was the setup. I just didn't see it yet. 3 years ago, Marcus called me with the biggest idea yet. He wanted to open a restaurant. A barbecue place in Nashville. He had found the perfect location. He had a business plan. He had a chef lined up. He just needed startup capital to cover the first 3 months of rent and equipment costs. He needed $15,000. I said I needed to think about it. I thought about it for 2 weeks. I looked at his business plan. I asked questions. I did what I do, I analyzed it carefully and honestly. The plan was not perfect. But it was not crazy either. Nashville barbecue was a strong market. The location was good. Marcus had restaurant experience from years earlier. And the numbers, while optimistic, were not impossible. I said yes. I transferred $15,000 into his account on a Friday afternoon in October. He called me that evening. He was so grateful. He said I was the only person who had ever really believed in him. He said he would never forget this. He said the restaurant was going to change both of our lives. I said, just pay me back when you can, Marcus. He said, 6 months. I promise. The restaurant opened in January. I visited in February. It looked good. The food was excellent. Marcus was in his element, working the room, greeting customers, laughing with the staff. For the first time in a long time I thought, maybe this is it. Maybe this is the one that works. I left feeling hopeful. By April the calls started changing. Not the tone, Marcus always sounded upbeat. But the content. Rent was higher than expected. A piece of equipment had broken down. The chef had left suddenly and finding a replacement was expensive. He needed a little more time on the repayment. I said okay. By July he stopped mentioning repayment altogether. By October, exactly 1 year after I had transferred the money, the restaurant was closed. Marcus said it wasn't his fault. The landlord had raised the rent unexpectedly. A competitor had opened nearby. The timing had been bad. He said he was sorry. He said he would figure out a way to pay me back. Then he stopped calling. 4 months of silence. No calls. No texts. No updates. Nothing. $15,000. And silence. I sat at my kitchen table that Tuesday morning and I looked at his last text message. It said, "Claire, I'm so sorry about everything. I'll call you soon and we'll sort this out. Promise." That message was 4 months old. I put my phone down. I opened my laptop. I searched for family debt lawyers in my area. And I made an appointment. The lawyer's name was Patricia. She was a small, precise woman in her 50s. Gray suit. Reading glasses on a chain. The kind of person who had heard every family money story there was and had stopped being surprised by any of them. I sat across from her desk and I laid everything out. Every transfer. Every date. Every text message. Every phone call I could remember. Every promise Marcus had made and every deadline he had missed. She listened without interrupting. She made notes. She asked a few quiet, specific questions. Then she looked at me over her glasses and said, "Do you have the transfers documented?" I said, "I have bank statements going back 3 years." She said, "Do you have anything in writing where he acknowledges the debt?" I pulled out my phone. I had gone through every text message the night before. Found 3 separate instances where Marcus had explicitly referenced paying me back. One said, "I'll have your $15K back to you by summer, I promise." Another said, "Claire, I know I owe you and I'm going to make it right." A third said, "You'll get every dollar back, I swear on my life." Patricia looked at the screenshots. She nodded slowly. She said, "This is workable." She explained my options clearly. I could send a formal demand letter first, giving Marcus 30 days to respond with a repayment plan. If he ignored it or refused, I could proceed to civil court. Given the amount at $15,000, it would go to a higher court than small claims. The process would take longer. But with proper documentation, the case was strong. She said, "The demand letter alone often resolves these situations. People behave differently when they realize the other person is serious." I said, "He's going to be angry." She said, "Probably. Are you prepared for that?" I thought about it honestly. I thought about 20 years of loving Marcus. 20 years of believing in him when nobody else did. 20 years of answering every call, every ask, every crisis. I thought about $15,000 transferred on a Friday afternoon because I believed in him one more time. I said, "Yes. I'm prepared." She said, "Good. Let's draft the letter." The demand letter went out on a Thursday. Formal. Professional. Every detail documented. The amount. The dates. The written acknowledgments. The timeline of non-communication. A clear demand for full repayment within 30 days or legal proceedings would follow. I didn't call Marcus to warn him. I didn't text him. I just let the letter arrive. It arrived on a Saturday. He called me Sunday morning. I had been expecting anger. I had prepared for anger. But what I got was something different. Marcus was hurt. His voice was quiet. Wounded. Like I had done something to him. He said, "Claire. A lawyer? Really? I'm your brother." I said, "I know you're my brother. That's why I waited this long." He said, "I told you I was going to sort it out." I said, "Marcus, your last message was 4 months ago. The money has been gone for over a year. Sorting it out means actually doing something, not just saying you will." He said, I've been going through a really hard time. I said, I know. And I'm sorry about that. But I also went through a hard time, the hard time of losing $15,000 and 4 months of silence from my brother. Silence. Then he said, so what, you're going to sue me now? Your own family? I said, I'm going to get my money back, Marcus. How that happens is up to you. He hung up. I sat with my phone in my hand for a moment. Waiting to feel guilty. Waiting for that familiar pull, the one that always made me soften, always made me give him one more chance, always made me put his comfort above my own boundaries. It didn't come. What came instead was something steady. Something clear. I had made my decision. And I was not going to unmake it. My parents called 2 days later. I had been expecting that too. My mother's voice was careful. Diplomatic. The voice she used when she was trying to hold the family together through sheer force of tone. She said, Claire, Marcus is really upset. He feels like you blindsided him. I said, Mom, I transferred $15,000 to Marcus 14 months ago. He has not paid back a single dollar. He stopped communicating 4 months ago. I sent a formal letter asking for repayment. How exactly did I blindside him? She was quiet. My father got on the line. He said, Claire, lawyers and letters, that's not how family handles things. I said, Dad, how does family handle things? Because in my experience family handles things by asking me for money and then going quiet. Neither of them had an answer for that. I said, I love you both. But this is between me and Marcus. And I am going to see it through. I ended the call. The 30 days passed. No payment. No repayment plan. No formal response. Marcus sent 2 text messages during that period. One said he needed more time. One said he was working on something. Neither message contained a dollar amount. Neither message contained a date. Neither message contained anything concrete at all. I forwarded both messages to Patricia. She said, he's stalling. Are you ready to proceed? I said, yes. She filed the paperwork. Marcus found out about the filing on a Wednesday. He called 6 times that day. I let every call go to voicemail. Not out of cruelty. But because I had learned something important over the past few months. Every time I answered Marcus's calls I got pulled into his version of the story. His pain. His explanations. His promises. And every time I walked away feeling confused and guilty and sorry for him. I was done feeling sorry for him. I listened to the voicemails that evening. They went through the full range. The first 2 were angry. He said I was destroying the family. He said I was being vindictive. He said money wasn't worth more than blood. The third one was quieter. More tired. He said he couldn't believe it had come to this. The fourth one was almost pleading. He said he just needed a little more time. He said he had a plan. He said if I would just call him back we could work this out between us. The fifth one was angry again. The sixth one was silence. He called and said nothing for 30 seconds and then hung up. I put my phone down. I went to bed. I slept better than I had in months. Patricia called me the following week with an update. Marcus had retained a lawyer of his own. A cheap one, she could tell from the quality of the response letter. But he was engaging with the process now. Which meant he was taking it seriously. She said, "This is good news. People get lawyers when they want to negotiate. If he wanted to ignore it, he would just ignore it." I said, "What does negotiating look like?" She said, "He'll probably propose a payment plan. Reduced amount possibly. Extended timeline. We push back on the reduced amount, you're owed the full $15,000, but a structured repayment plan is a reasonable resolution." I said, "I want the full amount." She said, "Then we hold firm." 2 weeks later, Marcus's lawyer made a formal proposal. He would repay $12,000 over 24 months. He was citing the restaurant failure as evidence of financial hardship. He wanted $3,000 forgiven. I read the proposal carefully. Then I called Patricia. I said, no. She said, full amount? I said, full amount. But I'll accept an extended timeline. 24 months is fine. 30 months is fine. But $15,000. Every dollar. She said, I'll communicate that. 3 days later, Marcus called me directly. Not his lawyer. Him. His voice was different from the voicemails. Quieter. Flatter. Like someone who had finally run out of energy for the performance. He said, Claire, can we just talk? Without lawyers. Just us. I said, we can talk. But my position isn't changing. He said, I know. That surprised me. No argument. No pushback. Just, I know. He said, I messed up. The restaurant. The money. Not calling you. All of it. I messed up. I said, yes. You did. He said, I don't have $15,000 right now. I genuinely don't. But I can pay you back over time. Every dollar. I just need you to give me the chance to do it properly. I said, Marcus, that's all I ever wanted. A plan. A commitment. Something real. Not promises. Not soon. Not I'll figure it out. An actual plan. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, okay. Tell me what you need. That was the first honest conversation, Marcus and I had in over a year. Not warm exactly. Not like the old days. But honest. Real. Two people finally talking about the actual situation instead of dancing around it. I told him what I needed. A formal written agreement. Monthly payments. A specific amount. A specific date each month. Automatic transfer if possible. And a late fee clause, because I had learned from Rachel's story, and I was not going to make the same mistake twice. He said he could do that. I said, Marcus, if you miss a single payment without contacting me first, I proceed with the court case. No warnings. No second chances. One missed payment and we're done negotiating. He said, I understand. I said, good. We met the following Saturday. Not at a lawyer's office. At a coffee shop, neutral ground. Marcus came alone. I came with the draft agreement Patricia had prepared. He looked tired. Older somehow. Like the past year had taken something from him that wasn't coming back. I slid the agreement across the table. He read it slowly. Every line. He asked 2 questions, both reasonable, both about the payment schedule. I answered them calmly. Then he picked up the pen. And he signed. The first payment came on the 1st of the following month. $500. Transferred at 9 a.m. Exactly as agreed. I logged it in my spreadsheet. $15,000. Month 1 complete. 29 months remaining. I didn't call Marcus to acknowledge it. I didn't text him. I just logged it and moved on with my day. That was our relationship now. Clean. Documented. Transactional. It was not the relationship I had wanted. But it was honest. And after everything, honest felt like enough. My parents took a long time to come around. My mother called twice in the first month after the agreement was signed. Both times she said she was glad it was resolved. Both times she said she hoped Marcus and I could rebuild. Both times she said family was important. I agreed with all of it. But I also knew something my mother didn't fully understand yet. Rebuilding requires 2 people. And I was only responsible for one of them. My father said very little. He is a quiet man who processes things slowly. But one evening he called me, just me, not a family call, and he said, "Claire, I want you to know I understand why you did what you did." That was all he said. It was enough. Marcus and I don't talk much now. Not the way we used to. The easy phone calls, the catching up, the laughing about old memories, that version of our relationship is gone. Maybe permanently. Maybe not. I don't know yet. What I do know is this. The payments keep coming. Every first of the month. $500. On time. Without fail. 11 months in now. $5,500 recovered. $9,500 remaining. Every transfer I log. Every dollar I count. Not out of obsession, but out of respect for myself. For the version of me that worked hard and saved carefully and believed in someone who wasn't ready to be believed in yet. That money represents something. It represents years of discipline. Years of choosing security over comfort. Years of building something stable and careful and mine. I am not going to pretend it didn't matter just because he is my brother. I want to be honest about something. I don't feel triumphant about any of this. People hear a story like this and they imagine the moment the lawyer shows up as some kind of victory. Some satisfying turning point where the wronged person finally wins. It doesn't feel like that. It feels like loss. Not just the money, though yes, that too. But the loss of the easy relationship. The loss of the brother who called just to talk. The loss of the version of us that existed before any of this happened. That version is gone now. And no court agreement brings it back. What I have instead is clarity. And self-respect. And the knowledge that I did not let someone walk away from a serious commitment just because letting them walk away would have been easier. Sometimes doing the right thing for yourself is the hardest thing you will ever do. Especially when the person on the other side is someone you love. Marcus sent me a message last month. Not about money. Not about the agreement. He said, "Claire, I've been thinking. I'm sorry. Not just about the money. About all of it. About going quiet. About making you feel like you didn't matter. You matter. You always have." I read it 3 times. I didn't respond right away. I sat with it for 2 days. Then I wrote back, "Thank you, Marcus. That means something. Let's just take it 1 month at a time." He said, "Yeah, 1 month at a time." That was it. No big reconciliation. No dramatic forgiveness scene. Just 2 people, slowly, carefully, cautiously, trying to find their way back to something real. Maybe we will. Maybe we won't. But the door is open. Just a little. And that is more than I had 3 months ago. If you are someone who has ever lent money to family and been left in silence, I see you. If you have ever been made to feel that asking for what you are owed makes you the difficult one, I see you. If you have ever loved someone so much that you kept giving long after you should have stopped, I see you. You are not wrong for protecting what you built. You are not cruel for holding people accountable. You are not selfish for deciding that love has limits, and that those limits deserve to be respected. Blood is not a blank check. Loyalty is not the same as unlimited patience. And asking to be treated fairly, even by family, is never something you should have to apologize for. Take care of yourself. You have earned it.